Hey guys, welcome back to another video of another John Deere STX38. This is the third one. This one I think has a bad head gasket. This is one of my fleet. It's going to be refurbished and resold. We're going to clean up that chalky paint. It's a little faded and cruddy looking. We're going to clean that up. We're going to polish up fenders, make it look nice. It has special yellow racing duct tape on the seat. I think that's it might just stay. If it was black duct tape, it would definitely get a new seat, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see what else the tractor needs. We're going to go over the belts, the blades, spindles. We're going to check all the bearings out. We're going to make sure the tires hold air. It appears that they're okay. It's been sitting out in the yard for a little bit now. It's got a 12.5 horse Kohler in it. We're going to do the carb. And I'm going to do a leak down test and see if we're actually leaking out of the head gasket. But we got to get the hood off of there. Gas tank's full of older gas. It's got a bunch of debris sitting in the bottom of it, so we're going to dump all that old gas out. We're going to clean it out and put a new filter in it. At the same time, we'll change oil. It's got way too much oil in it. It's got about, well, it's about 2.5 inches over the full mark. So, anyways. I'll get the hood off there, get you guys in the stand, get some tools gathered up, and we'll jump in. Yeah, I know, I jumped ahead of you guys. So I got the deck off. That allows me to get the drain bucket in there, get some of that horrible gas oil out of there. It's filling up that pan pretty good, so it's running slow, it's cold, but I'm just going to let it run. I'm going to change the filter out anyways. Got the deck's on the floor. I'll be able to flip that over, check the blades. They're actually sharp, so I don't know if they're any good. I haven't even looked at them yet, but I know they're sharp because I've stuck my hand underneath there and checked it. But we're gonna see what's going on with this. I think there's a head gasket out of it. I'm gonna pull the valve cover off eventually, but first I'm gonna pull the spark plug out. We'll put a leak down tester in there, and I'll see if I can get any noise out of the head gasket and see if, it might be spitting out somewhere. If it's got gas and oil, sometimes they hydraulic can pop their head gaskets. Anyways, we get some of those tools together now and turn the camera back on. Alright, so moving on. What I've done is I put my leak down tester in there, took the valve cover off so I could watch the valves, see what was going on with the intake and exhaust valves. I could tell they were both closed, and I rotated the motor over. Engines already. Rotated the engine over till the piston came up to the top, and it should be under compression, but what I heard was leakage down at the bottom, so I'm thinking my head gasket is blown down at the bottom there. So I confirmed it with a flashlight and a mirror. Could see some bubbles coming out of the head gasket, so we have to pull the air box off, carburetor off. It's got to come off anyways. We're going to soak that and clean it in the ultrasonic, and we're going to take these tins off. We're going to pop the head off, and we're going to see what we can see. So let's get into it here. Airbox, big nut, big lid, wing nut. Put that in there for safekeeping. Air filter. This should be a couple of 10 millimeters on the outside there. Of course, I don't have my stuff gathered. And I think they're 8s. Is that 8? Oh, wrong one. Oh, there it is. I think these are 8s on the pins. Yeah, those are 8s. Okay, let's get this carburetor off of here. Star washer, ground wire, air cleaner cover. Let's get all this stuff out of the way. We'll dig the nuts out of there. Fuel valve is off. We should be able to pop that line off and only lose a little bit of gas, whatever's left between the valve and the carburetor. Needle nose pliers. Get in behind there. Come on. Off with you. Yeah, a little bit of fuel splashing. Nothing too crazy. I'm going to change that fuel filter anyways because it's a little skanky looking. I think these carbs just slide off. I don't remember. There we go. Once you release the gasket. Z-bend there, Z-bend there. Try not to. Actually, I think this one, I think I can pop from the governor arm. Yes, I can. Nice. We'll just slide that out. I'll get the Z-bend out of the throttle arm. Come on, Z-bend. There we are. That's out. That needs a cleaning. Looks a little fuzzy. Set that to the side for now. That can stay. One here. One on the front. Two on the side. I think there's one underneath. Nope, guess not if it's coming off. There's our front tin, full of crap and corruption. It's going to need a washout. So, this plate, that should slide out with the head, because these studs are screwed into the head. Ow! Bumped my elbow. And what do we got for fasteners? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's all of them. I got a few of these gaskets in stock, so let's see what the holes look like. Well, that's not going to work like that. Pretty sure there's a head gasket for it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nah, it looks like 5. I got the other 3/8 impact gun. I think it looks like a 1/2 inch. That's what we're going to try. 1. I'm going to loosen them in a star pattern. 2. 3. 4. That wasn't actually very tight. And 5. This big one's got a spacer on it. They might be different lengths. I don't know yet. I haven't found any washers yet, so I'm just gonna lay them on the bench, somewhat in the order I'm taking them out, so I can have just a quick picture on what it's supposed to look like. There's definitely one here that's different length. I think it's just the back one over here that's longer than everything else. So this head should come off now. Oh shit. Yeah. It's not going to come off with the muffler still attached. I'll just gently run that one down until I can get this muffler off of here. Looks like a 1/2 inch wrench I need. See what happens when you get ahead of yourself? Start working too fast. My hands start to work faster than my brain. Half inch isn't quite fitting it, so it's either a damaged 1/2 inch or it's actually a 13mm nut. 13 is just a tad bigger than half. My half is actually 12.7mm for the technical people. The nut is taking the stud out with it. That's okay. It's all right. Studs out. This back one's going to be nice to get to. Now there's orange silicone on this valve cover, a rocker cover gasket. So I know somebody's been in here. I mean, the machine is a mid-90s machine. It would not surprise me if somebody's been in here before. But we don't really know the history on it. Exactly what was done. Maybe the head gasket has been replaced before. It's possible. Maybe they just opened the valve cover thinking they needed to adjust the valves, but there's actually no adjustment on these. Anyways, I'm not going to bore you with me filling one flat at a time on this nut. Let me get the muffler dropped off and we'll come back. Alright, so I had to loosen up the top cowl and lift that up just a little bit, and then I was able to clear that plastic deflector on the side here. Took the last bolt out of the cylinder head again, and it just came out in my hand. Push rods are there. I know which one is which. This is the one that came out of the top. That's the one that came out of the bottom. And here is our culprit. That is the bottom of the cylinder head, where the exhaust was. The muffler was here. Bolted up there. There's our blown head gasket. That's no good for nothing. That needs a new one. We can't fix that. There's where it was leaking across the block there. I'm going to clean that up with a razor blade, make sure there's no wash, there's no bad spot in the actual gasket surface. We'll clean up with a razor blade, a little bit of brake clean on a rag. There's our lifters. Piston doesn't look overly dirty. Not too bad. I think what I'll do is I'm going to soak that entire head in a parts washer maybe. A bit of fuzzies on it. Quite a bit of fuzzies. Now we'll see what I do. I'm going to clean it up anyways. You don't need to be watching me clean parts. I'll clean parts, I'll turn the camera back on. We'll start to assemble it. Alright guys, so I jumped ahead here. It was in the way of the camera anyway, so you wouldn't have been able to see much. What I did was I cleaned the cylinder head off. The inside surface, outside surface, popped a new gasket on there. Got my push rods installed. Made sure that they were in the lifters in the base. Make sure they sat where they needed to go. Verify, yep, still there. Push rods aren't bent. I torqued the head gasket, the head bolts down in the appropriate pattern. I got a service manual for these, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Torque them to 15 foot-pounds first. Then you go on the same circuit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you do that to 30 foot-pounds. And then I roll the engine over slowly by hand with a ratchet and a socket on the crankshaft. Make sure that all the valve train and everything's working. So, interestingly, I wanted to drop the muffler to make it a little easier to get the cylinder head back on there. So when I dropped the muffler, as I pulled the heat shield off, I actually found the 2 springs for the hood. They hold the hood on, so that's good. I don't have to buy them because they were missing. So now we're just going to pop these screws, 2 bolts in for the exhaust. These are going to be slow and tedious, so I'll probably jump ahead again on the camera, and we'll get the probably back to the point where we're getting the valve cover set back on there. I'm just going to silicone that because that's what I have. There's no gasket in it, it's just silicone. So get these started at least. I think this one will make a comeback. We'll see. See how it goes. You roll the dice when you play the game. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. But that's the way the game is. So I will ratchet away here. Get these studs put back in there. 2 more nuts and bolts I got to tighten here to get the muffler to clamp up flat to the body. And the front heat shield. And I still got to pull the carburetor apart. Dunk that in the ultrasonic. And get that taken apart, flushed out, cleaned out, change fuel filter. And we got a little bit of a list left to do. I know I have the deck off. I know there's 1 bad bearing in it. So we will get to that, but there's no sense getting to that unless we know the engine runs properly. So first things first, and you follow the list of priority repairs to make this a viable project. So I'm going to carry on with torquing these studs up. We'll turn the camera back on when I got something interesting to show you. Okay, so here's where we are. I got the head gasket back on, we got all the tins back on. I did take the carburetor off, took it apart, dunked it in the ultrasonic cleaner, got that all cleaned out. There's a little bit of crud in the bottom of the carburetor, so we got that done. We already did the oil and filter change, and I fired it up, and it works pretty good. It actually runs good. I was out booting around in the backyard with it. I found the hood springs that were missing. They were sitting on top of the muffler. When I had the head off, I had the muffler drop down a little bit, and I ended up finding the springs under there, so that's a bonus. I still have to go over the deck. I think it's got one growly bearing in the deck. Needs a belt on the deck. And the blades look good. I'll just clean them, sharpen them, balance them. And that should be fine. And then it's cosmetics. So at that point I'll just clean the paint up and do a little polishing, a little waxing. This one should be good to go. Actually running pretty good. With a head gasket that's in one piece. Runs better. Okay, so I gotta get something else in here. I got a customer's mower I gotta bring in and get that finished up for him. So I'm gonna get that in here and carry on with that, and then I'll jump back on this unit probably in another few days or so. I'll get back on here and I'll just continue this video, and we'll get it cleaned up, polished up, and ready to go. Okay, here's where we're at. We've got the tractor's just about done. We've got our deck up here on the lift, and I'm spinning stuff to see what it sounds like, and it appears like we got a growly bearing. It's probably either not one of the spindles is growly. Our flat idler pulley was cockeyed, so I fixed that. I just twisted it and tweaked it so it's nice and straight. The belt leads on and off nice and flat. There's no twist in it now, but it did damage this belt, so I ordered a replacement. We have it in stock. It's got the corners worn off of it here on the flat spot. It does have a bit of a tear in it. It's an older dry belt, so we're just gonna pop a new one on there. But we got to get this taken apart first. This has got to come off in order for us to get everything else off. So we'll check the bearings in this. We're also going to pull the blades off and sharpen and balance them. They appear to be in decent condition. Just got to turn around here. Yeah, blades in decent condition. Actually, they're pretty good condition. So we're going to sharpen them and balance them. That's a nice thick heavy blade. That's a quality blade. But it's got a growl, so we'll find out what it is. Get you in the stand, get some tools gathered. Maybe we'll get you a bird's eye view. Maybe I'm going to put you way up high in a stand. See what's going on. Put you on a tripod on top of the workbench maybe. We'll figure it out. Stand by. Alright, so let's get into this. So we are going to release the tension on the lower deck belt. This one has a lower deck belt that runs just the blades. And it also has this belt that runs up to the PTO. So we're going to relieve the tension on the spring. Just unhook it from the little slotted hook here. There, everything's relaxed. So the belt's relaxed now, but we still got to get this apparatus apart to get to the belt. Let's get this out of here. Big nut on the bottom, 15/16. 15/16 bolt. Slide that out of the way. Let's just take the top belt off. Let's just get the bottom belt off. There's bearings in here I'm checking, just spinning them. They feel good. No, there's more to take off. Spin this. Idler's nice and quiet. Spin this one. That's growly. Spin this one. Nice and quiet. So the bearing that we need to change is in here. And the belt. There's another pivot bolt. This one here we got to take out. That'll let us get this whole bracketry off of here. Hook the tension spring. That gives us our pivot for the tension. We're gonna, well, it's a part we're gonna lube all that and grease her up and make sure it's good to go. We need to get under the deck there. Feels like a 1/2 inch. Let's get our little impact gun. See if this little beast will do it. Might not be a 1/2 inch. No, it's probably 9/16. 9/16 wrench, 9/16 socket. Well, it's turning. Wrench is slipping. Let's see if we can get it from underneath, maybe. I'm going to give that a no. It's just sitting there rattling away. So I'll bring out the big guns. 9/16. We'll do the same thing. We'll spin the nut and hold the bolt. Well, that did it. No washer, just a nut on it. So that pivot bolt should be able to come out. Work it out of there. Probably the tubes that it pivots on will be sticky and seized, so maybe I'll get some penetrating oil on it, let it soak down between everything. This has got to be able to slide out of the spacers and everything that are on the deck, so I'll get some penetrating oil on there. We'll let it set and see what we can get moving on it. Alright, so I've been working away on the sleeve that's seized on there, and I got one of them loose, and there's still like 2 or more sleeves in there that I can't get out, so we're going to cheat it. Instead of changing or taking a bolt out of this pivot, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both bolts out of this mount, and that should allow it to swing enough out of the way so I can get the belt out. We're just finding a way around things, so we already got this one loose. Take the nut off, washer off, lift arm off, spacer off. The bolt should work itself out. Well, we can get the other one loose and then it'll fall out. So, let's get this one out of here. That one's out. Both these bolts should come out now. And I can turn this, and now I can change the belt. Where there's a will, there's a way. We figured that one out. Gotta get the other shield off the other side. We'll swap that belt out, and we'll get this thing. We'll take the belt off first, and then I gotta do the bearings, and then after that we'll be able to put our belt on. All right, so I've been working away on this sleeve that's seized on there, and I got one of them loose, and there's still like 2 or more sleeves in there that I can't get out. So we're gonna cheat it. Instead of changing or taking a bolt out of this pivot, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both bolts out of this mount, and that should allow it to swing enough out of the way so I can get the belt out. We're just finding a way around things, so we already got this one loose. Take the nut off, washer off, lift arm off, spacer off. The bolt should work itself out. Well, we can get the other one loose and then it'll fall out. So, let's get this one out of here. That one's out. Both these bolts should come out now. And I can turn this, and now I can change the belt. Where there's a will, there's a way. We figured that one out. Gotta get the other shield off the other side. We'll swap that belt out, and we'll get this thing. We'll take the belt off first, and then I gotta do the bearings, and then after that we'll be able to put our belt on. I got a hole drilled in the end of the shaft here, and it's not to relieve anything. It's just to keep this the chisel centered. I ground a little cone on the end of this, so let's give her hell. Looks like the pulley was working off. Here we go. Yeah, that was stuck on the key. The shaft actually started to move out some. Ow! But it got stuck in the hoist underneath. We got to get that key out of there anyway. I usually use side cutters. Can't seem to put my eyeballs on them right now. Oh yeah. Everything's seized on this one. Little penetrating oil in behind there. Tap that key out of there maybe. Well, it's more taking the end of the screwdriver out. Come on. This one's really putting up a fight. There we go. Key's out. That's going to take some grinding to get it touched up and ready. Now I should be able to use that air hammer to drive that straight out. Hopefully the this chisel will fit through the hole. Let's get some penetrating oil in there. What the heck? Can't hurt. Success. Got the whole jack shaft out and everything. That's going to need some cleaning. And my chisel's stuck now. Yeah, I'll have to get a little punch underneath there. Yeah, it's stuck. But it'll come out. It went in. It'll come out. Or all the way through. One or the other, it's coming out. Now I can get a rod in there. There we go. Now, if memory serves me correct, I believe there's snap rings that'll hold these in. One from the other side. This bearing I'll be able to drive out from the back side, but the inner bearing I believe is retained with a snap ring. I'm going to pull the hub out. I'm going to pull that hub out and I'll put it in the vise. Instead of working up and down and all around, just put it in the vise, that way you can stand right in front of it and deal with it. So I'll get the hub out. It's 3 bolts. There's 3 carriage bolts here. The nuts are on the bottom. I'll work away at those, get those out, and we'll turn the camera back on when we get back. Baling twine. Nylon baling twine was tied around there. We'll get the camera back on at a better angle where we can see what's going on in the vise. See? I'm not too old. I do remember now that it did have a retaining ring in there. That was a real thick, heavy ring with a lot of tension on it. And in a previous video, I think it was, what's this, the third STX38? I think it was the first one I did. I drilled a hole in the side of this casting, 1/8 of an inch hole, and I was able to use a punch to get that ring to start popping out. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll get that camera repositioned and we'll do that. drill that out, because there's no way to get anything underneath here easily and pick these ends out to let the snap ring come out. So yeah, now I remember. Also, no grease fittings on this hub. So the new bearings that go in are going to get the seals popped out and greased. You can see this is the side, this was the grass side, so it was this way on the deck. The grass side is where that baling twine was, and this seal is melted. So this bearing got overheated because of the stuff that was wrapped around it, and cooked the bearing. Alright, reposition the camera and we'll get this bearing smashed out of here and a new one smashed in. Okay, so I drilled my 1/8 hole in this casting right here, and it's lined up with the direction of where the back of the snap ring is. And it's about 1/4 of an inch from the end of the snap ring. So now I should be able to tap this with a hammer. Yep, there comes the snap ring. Here's a do as I say, not as I do moment. When you're dealing with snap rings, you should be wearing safety glasses. They can fly out of there with some energy. So gently work it out. I don't want to tweak it, don't want to twist it, bend it, because I don't have another one to replace it with. So I don't want to damage this one. So we're going to gently work its way out of its spot. You can put your hand over them. You can put a rag over them. Otherwise they will shoot themselves across the shop. There we go. Snap ring is out. It's pretty heavy. It's got a lot of tension. It doesn't have a lot of expansion, but it's got a lot of tension in the groove. Each bearing needs to be pushed out from its individual side, because again, if memory serves, there's a snap ring in the middle that won't allow both bearings to come out one side. So I'll have to, basically there's a spacer in between the bearings. I will need to push the spacer to the side. I'll use the spacer or punch to drift out this bearing, and then I'll flip it over, I'll drift out this bearing, and then we can get the new bearing in here and the snap ring, and then everything else will fall together. So, more different tools. I have to start clearing the bench off so I can find either room to lay down tools or find the tools that I already have out. So I gotta clear the bench, reset, and get some room to work here, and we'll drive those bearings out.